welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How is your day?
How was your week?
How is your life?
Going. And make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. When you guys go to our website, you'll see all the ways that you can follow the podcast there. The best thing that you guys can do is share this with somebody else. Share a clip with somebody else from our clips channel on YouTube, Opposites Attract Podcast Clips. You can follow us everywhere at Opposite Pod.
You can like, you can subscribe.
Yep, there you go. Comment, all that stuff.
All that good stuff.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Cha, cha, cha.
Happy birthday, dear Sonja.
Happy birthday to me.
What's up, babe? It's your birthday. Well, your birthday's passed.
It passed, but
Happy
it's
birthday.
been a full week. I'm going to take the full month, actually.
You're going to take a full month of celebration.
Yes. I'm going to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Dude, it's gonna be fun.
It was beautiful. You were out of town and I wasn't sure if you were going to make it back.
Yeah.
In time for my dinner. So my mom made me dinner, which was the bomb. Thank you, Mom. She made me some sopapillas, which is like Indian fried bread with green chili and red chili, beans, rice, awesome. And all the toppings. Oh, it was delish. And then my stepdad made this amazing chocolate cake. Gluten-free, so that Audrey can have.
And she's been tearing it up.
And then...
Or she tore it up.
Yeah. And then I got to spend the day with my friend Joyce. And then, we were at my mom's and you showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a crazy few weeks of work where I've been having to travel more than normal. And it was your birthday on Wednesday. And last week I had to travel Monday to Wednesday. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking a flight out where hopefully we can spend at least part of the day together, at least have dinner together. So it worked out. It worked out pretty good where I landed and I went straight to your mom's house and then we had dinner there and hung out.
I started the morning with a workout. So I've been working out Monday through Friday.
You talking about on your birthday that day?
And just feeling really good, and I realized I'm like, holy shit, I am closer to 50.
Yeah.
And just feeling good and life unfolding and just stepping into that journey and that space of fulfillment and purpose. And just looking back at my life and recognizing all the accomplishments and feeling pretty fit,
Yeah.
And I've been consistent and it feels good.
Dude, you've been crushing it.
Just being consistent, having that self-discipline to do the thing that I actually love doing because I really enjoy working out. And so, just looking back at everything, and it feels good where I'm at, in our relationship and just every part of my life.
Being a wife, being a parent, being a friend.
And I wanted to share something. You and I it seems like our love just keeps growing in depth, right? Like it gets gooder and gooder.
Yeah. And it gets more gooder.
Right?
Yeah.
And while you were gone, I was busy, here with the kids and doing what I got to do and just really taking that time and thinking of us and recognizing how far we've come.
Yeah.
And you being gone gives me time to also miss you and appreciate you even more.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait for you to get back. And
yeah,
I've been working on my soul agreement to self.
Also known as your document.
Right. But that's not, no. Mine is
A
my
soul
soul
agreement.
soul agreement to self. It's my higher self.
Yeah.
It's my conscience, right? When I'm in that space, when I'm on top of my game.
Yeah.
And who I actually am. And I had recreated it. And I wanted to read something to you. And I've read it to you before. And this is how I see our relationship. And it's a great reminder for me, especially when you piss me off. No, I'm kidding.
Really?
But it helps me stay aligned with my true self. Because there's times where we become unconscious, right? Yeah. Where things are getting crazy and we're feeling the stress of life in every which way, and we disconnect and it gets the best of us.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a reminder for me when I'm feeling out of alignment. And so this is who I am and how I see you.
Okay.
And how I see us. So it says, in the dance of love, Miguel Ramirez, a man of extraordinary virtues, his beauty extends beyond the physical, reaching into the depths of his caring and unwavering support. He is the love that transcends time, my eternal companion. With patience as my guide and understanding as my compass, I walk beside him, supporting his every endeavor. My affection for him knows no bounds, a love that vibrates through the very core of my being. He is my soulmate, a timeless connection that defines our shared journey. And so this is who I am with you, and this is my promise, like, to you, to always support you, to be there for you, you know, to be your cheerleader, to be patient, to be loving, to be understanding, to be respectful, to be all of those things.
Yeah.
And if I'm being all of these things, what kind of man am I going to create?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, even if you're upset about something.
And you're
patient. I'm patient. And I'm tapping into my higher self.
Right. You can create me to be who you want me to be.
Patient, understanding, supportive, all of that.
Yeah. That's awesome, babe.
Yeah.
Love you, babe. Thanks.
Love you too.
And you have been very supportive of anything that I've wanted to do, you know? I appreciate that.
There was a comment, and I want to read it. It said, let me see if this is the right one. I was probably on the one I was reading.
Anyway, you can say kind of what it was about.
So she just mentioned that. Here it is. I love having you in your relationship with your husband as a wonderful example for the kind of relationship I am looking to create. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I told her, you are very welcome. It's been in the making for a long time. And now I'm in the most beautiful, loving relationship one could imagine. The secret is learning to love self and becoming selfless.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've mentioned it before. Well, we've talked about like the love languages and like how the love languages work. But once you get past a certain point, like the love language is a great start.
Right.
To make you aware of how your partner receives love in a certain way, right? Or, you know, we've given the examples before where if quality time is their love language, and yours is acts of service, and you're always doing stuff for them to show them that you love them, but really all they want is to spend time with you,
right,
then you're missing how you should be loving your partner.
Right. You're loving each other the way
that you want to be loved.
Right.
You're doing things for them because that's what you appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
And but at a certain point, you get to a point where it's even like an unconscious thing. It's just serving, like getting into this service, which has to do with acts of service, I guess. But it starts to get into everything when you just put your partner first.
Right.
You know, when you tell them that you love them, you know, the words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. When you tell them, you know, how great they are, how good they are at whatever it is that they're doing, that they're passionate about. When you stop and pick something up that you think they might appreciate, whether it's a couple dollars or whatever, you know. But little by little, you start just doing these things.
I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine who was in town. And she was talking to me about her relationship. And I asked her if she was familiar with the 5 love languages.
She asked you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I was giving her the example of us. And I said, you know, and the funny thing is that once he realized that I was physical touch.
Yeah.
Right? And you started loving me in that way, smacking my ass, giving me a hug, kisses, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I found out that you were acts of service, and I started doing and loving you in that way. And you started in return
you would make
loving
my coffee,
me.
making my lunch.
Yeah. And you started loving me the way I felt loved.
Yeah.
And then we just started working on each other. I mean, we started working on ourselves.
Yeah.
The healing, the trauma, the pain, talking through, processing, going through all of that. And at the same time, working on our relationship, working on us as a couple, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's funny because you and I realized this. We were talking about this. We were laying on the bed talking about this because we recognized that now we are all the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
Because it's just that it's all love. It all stems from love. Like, I love you. I want to wake up early and make your coffee. I want to, hug on you. I want to give you quality time. I want to be with you because I enjoy our time together.
Yeah.
And because I appreciate you so much, I'm going to tell you words of affirmation.
Right. And because you're always on my mind, if I'm at the store and I see something that you would like, it's like, oh, she would love that.
Right.
Let me pick that up.
And then it's not even a thought, you guys. It just becomes the norm.
Yeah.
It just becomes the norm.
Yep.
And I remember when you and I recognized that. We were talking about that.
Yeah. But definitely it is the place to start.
Right.
You know, it's just becoming aware of the love languages. But that's exactly what it is it's a start.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of these things that you start thinking that, oh, when I get this down, that, you know, I'll be good.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things we don't realize, like, that's just the beginning.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So funny you say that, because my soul agreement to self, it is of who I am. Like, I have being my word, integrity, love is, I am that, the type of mother I am, the type of wife I am the number 1 bookseller, I am a global leader. Like, it's all these things, right? It's all these things. And I remember Steve Hardison saying, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
That's just the beginning, because now it's living to that. Yeah. Now it's when you're having a crazy ass day and your kids are driving you insane and you're about to say something, you stop and you become aware and go back to your soul agreement or document, what most people call it, and read the paragraph. What kind of mom am I? I am this. Breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah.
before you make a mistake, before you say something. Just this morning, I didn't, the kids are both in the kitchen. I'm cooking. They're putting dishes away. I'm about to serve, and we're all up in the kitchen. And, Audrey's stacked up like 4 glasses on top of each other, put them on the counter. The cat jumped up. She goes to grab the cat, and boom, all the cups fall. And I was like, Adriana, right? Like I snapped, and she's very sensitive. So even with me just saying that and raising my voice, like I saw her shoulders like come down. And she said, I'm like, you shouldn't have stacked all the glasses on top of each other. And she's like, well, you should have told me that from the beginning. Which, again,
when you saw me, you should have said something.
Right. See, but even before that, I felt my temper. I felt like my body. I felt the disconnect. And then the way she responded didn't help.
Yeah.
But I said nothing back. I said, you should have known. And then when we got to the table, I got to replay what happened. And I hear, she's a kid. They make these stupid mistakes. They have accidents all the time.
Yeah.
And she was feeling bad because I raised my voice. And she's very sensitive to energy too, so she could read my energy, and I can't hide it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I cleaned it up. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. What did I say? I said, like, I shouldn't have got mad at you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
It was an accident. It's not like you meant, like purposely to break the glasses. I'm sorry. And she's like, it's okay. I said, and there was a point where you should have taken responsibility. And then I replayed that back for her as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, another opportunity to talk about ownership and owning up to your stuff. Like, this wasn't the first time that we've said not to stack glasses like that or stack plates like that, because this is what happens. Parents, I'm sure you guys have had this talk with your kids before, when they're putting away dishes. And if they're not putting away dishes, I don't know what you're doing.
Or not doing.
Well, we've also recently had some conversations with some friends where one of the kids is like, I don't do that. That's my mom's job. Right.
I was like,
it's like, you want to start smacking kids for them? Like, come here. You know what I mean? I'm going to teach you. I was
like, did he just say that?
Sometimes we have these feelings like we don't want kids to go through what we went through, but there is
a balance.
Discipline. There's lessons that have to be learned. And the way they learn them is by doing these things, regardless of how much money you have. If you have enough money to have a nanny and have somebody wiping your ass and cleaning shit up everywhere you go, that's going to come with its own set of problems.
Right.
Kids have to have responsibility and discipline, and there is no reason why they shouldn't be helping out around the house doing things. They should have chores. And sometimes, we've kind of talked about this as long as we've had this podcast, like whether you give them money for allowance or not or whatever. And I think over the years, like, we've pretty much just kind of figured it out. I don't really see how kids should get paid for doing things around the house. Like, no, you clean up your fucking room because this is your room and you don't want to be living in a mess, and we don't want you living in a mess. We all eat off of these dishes. You need to put them in the dishwasher and the other one needs to put them away. Get your laundry in the laundry room. And yes, we will wash, but at a certain point, they need to wash their own stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they have to have this discipline instilled in them. And I think a lot of times we don't think about the consequences of this stuff. Because if they don't know how to wash their clothes, if they don't know how to wash dishes, if they don't know how to sweep, if they don't know how to mop, what the hell are they going to do when they leave your house?
Right.
These are basic survival lessons that they need to learn. And that is our job as parents, is to help them be prepared for these things. But like, we got into the whole ownership, and talking to them. And same thing, something came up with Joey, and it was like, you got to own it. Like, not.
He was complaining because you had him practicing jujitsu.
Yeah. And he was like, it's complaining in a way where you want people to feel sorry for you. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I was doing stuff today. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, fine. Then I won't help you.
Yeah.
But the next time you're getting your head smashed in, that's why. Because you've been not paying attention and doing whatever. And I'm trying to show you something like one-on-one that I think is going to help you. Mm-hmm. Like actually help, And he wanted sympathy and somebody to feel bad for him.
Yeah, it was me. So what happened was I asked him to put dishes away because the dinner was lunch was almost done. And he's like, I wanted to go play. And I'm like, dude, you had all morning to play. He's like, no, because Dad had me practicing jujitsu or something like that. Dad had me.
Like he had to do stuff he didn't want to do.
So he couldn't go play. Yeah. And I told him, I'm like, dude, you should be grateful.
Yeah.
I said, you have a tournament coming up, right? Yes.
He's only fighting for sushi. That's all he gives a shit about. He's like, I could go get tapped right away. He's like, are we done here? When are we hitting the sushi bar?
Oh my gosh.
I told him, I was like, I want to get him a rash guard that says "will fight for sushi" and have like a piece of sushi on the bottom funny. Of the rash guard.
He would probably love that.
But getting back to kind of what you were talking about with the kids and this morning, that is another, we've mentioned this a lot, and it's a simple thing. It's an easy thing that makes a gigantic difference in a family. And that's eating together all the time. Like every chance you get, sit down and eat together. Like Sonja was just explaining, this is like they're putting dishes away before we sit down to eat. Something happened, and then we sat down and we talk about it. If something's happening earlier in the week, earlier in the school day, I mean, it's just about every single day that we sit down and have dinner together. Mm-hmm. So whatever happened earlier in that day, we talk about during dinner. How was your day? My day was great. What did they get to hear? Sonja talking about business things that are going on. They get to hear me talk about work challenges that are coming up. We talk to them about challenges that they're going through in school. We'll talk about things that are happening at jiu-jitsu. We'll talk about things that our friends are doing that we're going to support them with. Like all kinds of stuff and all kinds of lessons come up at the dinner table.
Yes.
And it's hard to quantify how much of a difference something like that makes, especially over time. You miss one dinner and it's not a big deal.
Right.
But you start missing dinner after dinner after dinner, and before you know it, you're not having dinner together anymore. And everybody just grabs their shit and goes and eats something somewhere.
And it's not just for the kids. It's for us as well. The last podcast we were talking about a conversation that I was having with the kids.
Yeah.
And you were sitting there, and it was the first time that you got to experience me in that space.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and I had mentioned this, I think it was after the podcast we started talking about it. And it was because of a limited belief that I had within myself that I didn't allow myself to speak out in front of you, thinking that you would judge me. You know? And that day, because I've been doing work on myself, and that day after the conversation, you and I had a talk, and you told me, like, that's the first time I ever experienced you like that. And I went within, and I felt so proud of me because I allowed me to show up in front of you. I was free of that limited belief that I once had of not being smart enough or not sounding intelligent.
Yeah. Dude, you were just on fire. I mean, everything that I've mentioned on here before, like, you guys know how I feel when it comes to religion, spirituality, magic, like anything that has to do with anything that's like you can't test, you can't quantify. Like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around these things. But after being married to you for going on 20 years, right?
And all the spells I put on him.
and all the smoke while I'm sleeping. Yeah. But, you know, like you've told me all these stories about going out and meeting people, and then a 30-minute appointment turns into a 3-hour appointment, and they told you their life story and the trauma and all the shit that they've been through.
This was before I was coaching, by the way.
And you were supposed to be like selling them an identity theft plan.
Right.
It was like, what the fuck? Like, really? You know, so I've always known that you have this gift. There's something special about you when it comes to dealing with people and just connecting with them and this whole thing. And last week, like, it was the first time that we were sitting at the table and you were talking to the kids, and you were talking to all of us. It was a conversation between all of us. You know, at a certain point, I'm just like, you know, like, yeah, it was pretty awesome, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was proud of myself because I realized, like, once you said that, I realized that I allowed myself to be in front of you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. So before we move on to anything else, did you want to...
Go ahead, you're fine.
So I had, before we do that, we were just talking about your document.
Yes.
And, or your soul agreement to self, which is what you're calling yours. But it's based off of the document, right? And the document is something that, if you guys haven't listened to or read the book, The Ultimate Coach, definitely check that out. It's a great book. And one of the things in the book, and one of the things in your circle of coaches and circle of friends that we have that, I guess, coach with Steve Hardison. I mean, he is the ultimate coach. And it is this document that you create for yourself.
Right.
And recently we were kind of talking about that, and you've been working on it. But what was your first version of the document? What is the document?
My first version of the document is everything that I want to be that I'm not, that I feel is not me yet.
Okay.
You understand? It's like...
So things you wish you were.
That's how I was. That's how I created the first one, right? Which was about a year ago. So self-discipline. That is something that I've always wanted to be, is self-discipline.
Yeah.
Right? So my first document said, I am self-discipline.
Yeah.
To do the things that are needed to do in order to create my dreams a reality. Dude, I memorized that old document.
Now, is your document, is it like a living document, or is it something like you create it and your document's done?
No, it is a living document, because as you change, things will change.
Yeah.
And it's not even so much of the doing, it's being. Who are you being? Am I being self-disciplined? Am I doing the thing that I said I wanted to do, who I wanted to create? Am I being that?
Yeah. So we were, I think it was last week or the week before, we were on the bed upstairs, not having sex this time. We were
Which is very rare if we're on the bed.
We were talking. And it wasn't like, oh yeah, not like that. We were talking about the document.
Yeah.
And it had came up. You had sent a message to Steve Hardison talking about the document.
Yeah.
What was that? I remember, what was that moment?
I was at the gym, and this day I decided to play my document, like get more, because they say to listen to it over and over again.
You're brainwashing yourself.
Whatever, babe. So I'm at the gym and I had it on replay while I'm stretching, while I'm working out, and I'm listening to it over and over again. And I'm looking in the mirror and I'm lifting weight and I'm struggling, right? Because I'm just about to burn myself out, and I'm listening and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, listening to the document. And I had a huge realization. This was for me. That the agreement, the document, was created by my higher self. Like my spirit. Like that's who I actually am. And this body is just a costume. It's just a suit. So while I'm listening to this document, I am this. Like, this is my true self. This is who I am. And it's very hard to put into words what I was feeling, but I was on a high. And while I'm lifting and struggling, I'm crying. Like, I'm starting to cry because I'm understanding now why this document is so important to me. Like, so important.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about writing it. You're just not writing it. Like, you got to get yourself into a state of consciousness. So before I wrote my first document, like I was meditating. I was breathing in, breathing out. I got myself to where I was connected to my higher self, and I started writing this document. But I was in a different space a year ago. I wasn't who I am today. I was in a different headspace. But I did write the document when I was connected to my higher self.
Yeah.
And so listening to it, it became real. Like, this is who you are. Like, that's what I heard. This is who you are.
Yeah.
This is who you are. I am this. I am love. I am self-discipline. Like, this is who God created me. I am this.
So this was kind of like the moment, maybe,
that it
you
came.
can correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you were writing it, it's like, I wish to be self-disciplined. Like, you wrote it down, but in your mind, like the intention is like, I wish to be self-disciplined because I feel like I'm not. And I wish to be this because I feel like I'm not. And then this time, this was like one of the first times where I am.
Exactly.
I am disciplined.
Yeah.
I am,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I felt it's time to redo your document now.
It served its purpose.
Now
and
it's
that's the thing, is that it comes in steps. Like, I think anybody that has a solid document probably has been through these steps of creating their document. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to read it. I don't know if I read it today, but it's about, it's 10 minutes if I'm just like, yeah.
So when we were on the bed, we were talking about it. Mm-hmm. And like I was saying earlier in the podcast, like, I'm always trying to like figure things out, not figure you out.
He's always trying to dissect me.
No, I mean, I'm trying to like understand things the way I see things, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, when you're talking about your higher self, I'm like, okay, well, what are we talking about here? Like, what, so how can I make this so that I can understand it from what is that? What is going on? And when I look at and when I listen to your document and maybe other people's documents, and there's different versions of documents too.
Yes.
Because there's also like the Warrior Kids books that we've talked about with Jocko Willink. Awesome books for kids. Definitely pick those up for the kids. And if they have birthday parties, buy one for a kid and give it to them. But in that book, they talk about the Warrior Kids Code, which is a form of a document.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, I am prepared and ready for anything. Mm-hmm. I wake up early and, do these things. I work out every day. I study hard. Mm-hmm. I have fun. All these things. And this is another form of a document. And what I started thinking about was like, the way I would see the document is, this is your potential. This is in a perfect world where you are on 100% of the time.
Yes.
This is what you could be.
Right. If you weren't human and fully tapped into your spirit, this is who you would be.
Right.
Higher self, conscience, aware. Yes.
And the thing is that we all know that we have that in us. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be that 24/7,
right,
7 days a week. And I don't know if anybody can be that 24/7, 7 days a week.
Jesus was.
Was he? Was he though? No. And when I started thinking about it like that, I was like, that makes sense. And kind of like what you were talking about before, being able to use that document, like you said, with Audrey or with being a wife, like when I'm getting frustrated and maybe you want to get frustrated.
Right.
And it's like, I am patience. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and that helps you get closer and closer to what your potential actually is. Mm-hmm. And the more you are closer to that, the more fulfilled you are.
Yes. Yeah. When I was reading, my document, there are things that I am already. Like, there's a lot of things that I am. And there are things that I'm becoming. Right? And I know I am because I feel it. Like, it's there. It's so close.
Yeah.
That I'm already creating it. I also know that there will be challenging days. And when I have those challenging days, it's a great reminder of who I am. And when I'm not that, apologize and make it right.
Yeah. You guys talk about in your circle a lot about being, right? And that is like your document can help you keep who you're being in check when you're not being who your potential is.
Right.
Or who your document is. Right?
Which is me.
Yeah. Which is the highest version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. And like I was just saying, like what you were doing at the gym, you were listening to your document over in your head.
Looking at myself. I was doing mirror work at the same time.
So I've mentioned it on here many times before, like how easily humans can be brainwashed. And usually it's not for a freaking good thing. Mm-hmm. If you can brainwash yourself, why not brainwash yourself in ways that are going to make you more powerful, that are going to benefit you, that are going to change habits into better ones, that are going to put you on a different course, you know?
Yeah, it's powerful. What makes it real is when you tap into your emotion, the emotion behind it.
Yeah.
And you're just not speaking words. If you're just speaking words, it's affirmations, right? Like those affirmations that don't. But when you attach emotion to that, like you're meditating, like I am love, right? I am patient.
And even like I think about it, like even using, like you were saying, I don't think you were saying this, but you were listening to this document with music and everything. Use the techniques for brainwashing on yourself. Create your document of the potential and who you know yourself to be, who you can be if you are that person, if you act as the person that you know you can be. Write those things down, play some music behind it, read it to yourself, and then listen to it. Because like you were saying, like if you're standing in front of the gym and you're listening to a document about yourself with music playing, these, I mean, you put it together. You know what I mean? This is not, it could be, you could say it's a spiritual thing, but you're doing it to yourself. You're going to put yourself in that state. You know what I mean? I've witnessed people get put into that state. Put yourself in that state for something that you want. What?
I don't know. It's just the way you put it. It's funny.
I'm just saying it's not all bad. It's not always bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can use it to your benefit.
Yeah.
So anyway, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. When you guys go to our website, you can see ways that you can support the show. The best thing that you guys can do to support the show is click on the Amazon link when you click on the support the show tab on our website. Anything that you purchase for Valentine's Day that's coming up, any birthdays or whatever you have going on, if you're going to go to a birthday party for kids, buy them one of the Jocko's Kids books through our link. and they will not regret it. You will not regret it. And it helps out the show when you do it that way.
Yes.
And we'll get a little kickback whenever you shop through our link on Amazon. And another way that you can help us out.
You can go to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod and purchase us a virtual drink. And you can subscribe to that on a monthly basis as well.
Yep. And also, if you guys want to give us a call or send us a message, if you guys want to leave us a message, you guys can call us at 480-331-9846. You can be anonymous. We can play your message on the podcast. We can answer it on the podcast live. If you want to just leave us a message and just tell us that you want us to reiterate the question and you want to be anonymous, we can do that too and just talk about it on the podcast. But you can do all that at 480-331-9846. And also, Sonja's got an event coming up in May.
I was just going to mention that.
A coaching retreat.
Yes.
That's
Radiant
awesome.
Souls. That's
Yep.
going to be May 17th through the 19th, Pine Top, Arizona. I put the save the date flyer on Facebook and Instagram. You can also email me at healinghearts@sonjaramirez.com, or you can call me at
602-633-5658.
Yes. And I'm going to be interviewing some of the women that attended so that they can share with you all their transformation and how this event played a huge part in that.
Yep. And also look up Healing Hearts Coaching on Facebook and on Instagram, and make sure you follow Sonja there.
Yes, yes.
Yep. And if you have any questions, give her a call and set up a coaching session.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So
what's up?
have you read The Power of Now? Are you up to date with that?
So I haven't, sorry, Kelly, I haven't since last time. I know she likes us going over The Power of Now. I will get back to it. But there was another video that you sent me, because Sonja sends me a lot of stuff to look at.
We just talked about taking responsibility and ownership.
I send Sonja fight videos, and she's always sending me people talking. Talking about stuff. So no, it was a great video. It was a video with one of your friends, Ankush, and they were just doing a talk, like a Zoom call.
Yes.
And he was talking about forgiveness. And I had wrote down a couple things, and he was saying, if someone goes to a priest and asks for forgiveness, even though it's a representation of God's forgiveness, the person will still carry the guilt if they still have the negative beliefs and judgments.
Yes.
Which is, like, when he said that, I was like, damn, like that is a hell of a way to explain it, because a lot of people could relate to something like that. Even for somebody like me that doesn't believe, I could see how, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Right. And you start telling him all these things.
Yes.
And then he's like, well, God forgives you, say these things. And then you leave. It's like, I still feel like shit.
Exactly. I talk about this with my clients, and we're actually on forgiveness.
Yeah.
And the truth is, if you commit adultery and you go to your father and you ask for forgiveness, but you have not forgiven yourself and you have not allowed, they call it the shadows or dark secrets or whatever it is, if you are still with your significant other and have not aired out the truth, it will be very difficult for you to release that guilt and shame that you're feeling within.
So you'll still feel exactly the same.
Yeah. Because it's still a secret that you have. And you're with the person that you're with, and you're seeing them, and you're being with them, and you have the secret that's just festering within.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And a lot of times we don't know how to forgive, first of all. We don't know how to forgive.
So how do we forgive ourselves?
I forgive you. I speak it. I forgive you. For me, what works for me in forgiving self and those that have caused me pain or whatever, it's going back to the innocence or the child within, knowing that people hurt people. And sometimes people do the thing that either happened to them or something caused something. There's a limited belief within them that has not yet been healed. Like we are all hurt children walking this world, this earth.
Yeah.
Those of us that have not healed. So what helps me to forgive is seeing the child within them, the innocence within them. And when you get to know the person, it's not an excuse for what they did, but you can understand where it came from.
Yeah.
And we're all human, like we all make mistakes. But it's seeing the innocence within them.
So how do you forgive the child? The child you?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. When I started looking back at all my relationships and all the hearts that I broke, I didn't realize why I was that way. I thought something was wrong with me because I was so detached from that emotion of love, like that unconditional love, like giving me to someone. And when I traced that back, when I started doing the work, I realized it was because of my relationship with my father or lack of relationship with my father as a child. And the one man that loved me was not there for me.
Yeah.
I felt left behind.
Yeah.
So if the one man that's supposed to love me doesn't love me,
how could anybody else love you?
Right. So instead of me getting hurt, I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah.
I recognize the innocence within me and why I did the things that I did. And I had to love on her to let her know that she is loved, that she is lovable, that she matters, that she is worthy. With or without, standing on her own, she is that.
Yeah.
She is complete. She is whole. But it was seeing the innocence within me in order to forgive me. And the way I forgave myself is how I forgive others.
Yeah.
You know, forgiving me when that act happened with you, or vice versa. Forgiving you is the same way I forgave myself.
Yeah.
Knowing the situation that we were in at the very beginning of our relationship, knowing your background, your childhood, what you seen with your father.
Yeah.
And recognizing that you are a hurt child as well. And not knowing how to handle that and verbalize that. As children, when something happens to us, it's so hard for us to speak because we don't, even as adults, we're so disconnected from our emotion. There's only certain emotions we're aware of. Fear, anger, happiness, right? Like the main emotions, but it goes deeper than that. There's an underlying emotion underneath that.
Yeah.
Like shame.
What's that movie?
Where does shame come from?
Where is that? What is that? Isn't that what that movie is? That new Pixar movie with Joy. Isn't that the new one? Like there's now there's shame and there's like new.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
We got to check it out.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, what the hell was it called?
But
anyway,
yes, you know, and I didn't know this until I started coaching and I started looking stuff up and I started learning and then started recognizing, right, that we as humans don't even know how to identify our own emotions because we only know the basics, but we don't know the underlying emotion underneath that.
Yeah. Got to download that feelings wheel.
Yes.
Look it up and Google it.
And things that have happened to me as a child when I was 5 or 6 and I was, molested by my cousin. And I didn't know at that age, you don't know how to express or even speak out like what happened to you.
Yeah.
So how do you even put the right words to express what you're feeling at that age?
Yeah. Yeah. During that video, there was something that Ankush said, and it's a way of forgiving yourself. And he spelled out the words to use. And I was thinking about that and I was like, damn, like it's a good way, like even just to start forgiving yourself. But what he said is like, just to literally say, I forgive myself for judging myself that I am stupid, that I am lazy, that I am whatever, I forgive myself for judging myself that I am this. And like you said, like really thinking about where does that come from? And it always comes back to some type of trauma as a kid or, something that we've been through.
Yeah.
And another thing was, I don't know if he said this, but it was a thought. I know it was a thought that I was also thinking about. It was, you can't judge yourself if you're loving yourself. Like you can't do both at the same time.
Right.
Judgment and love cannot coexist. Forgiveness comes from love.
Yes.
So if you're judging, like if you're forgiving yourself, you can't be judging yourself because you're loving yourself in that moment.
Right.
So, and judgment is not love.
Right.
The more I kind of think about these things, like I also think about like the way I do talk to myself sometimes and about like maybe the negative ways that I talk to myself. And yeah, maybe that's an issue. Maybe that's something that's rooted in something else, And even though I do use it as motivation, maybe there's a better motivation somewhere else,
The second part to that is I forgive myself for judging myself as stupid. The truth is I am wise beyond my years. Yeah. It's now, what is the actual truth?
Yeah.
But that's a process. Like it's a process in itself in order to, to forgive yourself and then recognizing the truth, right? Like recognizing the truth. And how I recognized the truth was that I took myself back to that little girl who was scared to raise her hand because she didn't feel smart. She felt like hiding. She didn't want to be seen. And when I took myself back to that moment as that little girl that felt stupid, I had to go within me, that little girl, who was I actually? And I had to take myself through just remembering me as a little girl. Yeah. And I remember I was different than the other girls, but I was very smart. I always made good choices. Like when other girls were getting into stuff, I'm like, I am not doing that. That is not for me. Like I was wise.
Yeah. There's been something that has kind of come up, I think, a couple times in the recent past. I think you've mentioned like maybe as a kid feeling, I don't know if like lonely.
Yes.
And I've been kind of thinking about that, right? And I think, do you think that that's something that everybody goes through?
I don't know. I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah, but just kind of like we also know that nobody gets through childhood unscathed, right? Or nobody gets through life without experiencing some type of trauma or some type of something that affects you in a certain way, right? Maybe it doesn't have to be trauma. Maybe life is too good and it's not traumatic enough for you and you got to now you're soft. That's different, yeah. Right? That's not traumatic at all, but you're still soft. But like we said, there's reasons for things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking about that, like I remember feeling lonely as a kid. And for me, maybe there are instances where I was left alone a lot. Mm-hmm. So I did feel lonely as a kid, but even still, not even just that, because I think lonely is also like, I don't have really close friends.
Yes, that was
not
my
even,
loneliness.
Maybe not even really close friends, because you've met my friends and I have really close friends.
Right.
But even still, it's like feeling that you don't have somebody that fucking gets you.
Yeah.
That understands like who you actually are.
Yeah. There's different kinds of loneliness.
And that I feel everybody feels. I feel everybody at some point, probably in their childhood, feels that other people don't get them.
Yeah, for me as a child, it was lonely as I don't have any close friends. It wasn't my mom at times, like she was there. For you, I would think that loneliness was family, because you did have your close friends and you wanted to be with your dad. Your mom wasn't there.
Yeah.
You had your grandparents at times, but you were missing that family dynamic where maybe your loneliness came from. I don't know.
But what I'm saying aside from that,
and the other loneliness
is just saying like that people don't get you.
Right.
And I think part of that is also because we all go through our own different types of trauma growing up. And there is shame behind these traumas, and your friends have their own trauma. So you guys aren't running around fucking sharing traumas with each other.
Right.
So you don't share everything with everybody. So it's like that mask. They only, even as a fucking kid, they only know you to this point. So what I allow you to see of me.
Right. Yeah. So it's
and in
like
that way, nobody really
me.
fucking knows me.
Right.
And even as a little kid where you can't express that or wrap your head around that, I think you still feel it.
Yes.
And I think everybody feels that. I don't think that's I don't think that's foreign to anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's just understanding what that is. I don't know. You know, because I remember feeling that.
Yeah.
But I have a memory full of like friends and playing and doing all kinds of stuff. But I also do I remember at one time, it's like I have all these people, but I still feel like nobody fucking knows me.
I remember when we were at the family reunion. When we were at your friend's 40th.
Yeah.
South Carolina. They thought that you lived in that apartment complex, and you didn't. That was your grandmother's building. But they thought you lived there. They didn't really know you. They only knew what you allowed them to know.
Yeah. I mean, they know me pretty well.
But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they didn't know
that
your dad took you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they didn't know what happened with my dad.
Right.
You know, they don't know. Yeah, they just and the same way I don't know them. We know each other. Like they know me about as well as anybody can know me besides you. You know, they know me better than most people, but still don't have the full picture.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't know the story behind the story.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, that's okay. Yeah. But it's being that little boy, like you said. We don't know how to name the emotion that we're feeling, to express it. And it's not something that we do as kids. We just live with that feeling.
And you definitely feel it.
Yes.
Yeah. That reminds me of a video that I watched. It was about like the more you learn about things, the more you open your mind to stuff, the less you relate to other people or something. Like it just kind of, I don't remember, but like the more your perspective shifts on all kinds of different things, you start to realize like how different your perspective is to like everybody else's. At least for me, I've had this. At least you're coming on this ride with me though. But more and more, like my mind shifts and it's like almost lonelier because there's less people to talk to that think in that way. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard.
I need to
get
you around
that.
my friends more.
No,
but I understand. Like, yeah. No, I get it. No. Yeah, it's a smaller group.
And within that group, there's a smaller group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just how it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I can tell you, we all know that we don't know.
True. Yep. And we're open to it.
Yeah.
And with that, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. Like we said before, the best thing you can do is share this with somebody else. Watch them subscribe. Watch them leave. Let them watch you. Leave us a comment. Tell them this is your favorite video. Make them subscribe. Leave us a comment. All that stuff.
All that good stuff. Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support. And thank you for watching Opposites Attract podcast.
Where we get better
together.
Bye.